Hello, bienvenidos. It's time to talk about some Horizon. Because I can, even though I know that it released forever ago and everyone and their mother has played it. Well, assuming that everyone's mother knows how to play video games, mine really doesn't, but if yours doesn't, she's cool. She's a cool mom, you should be happy for her. Anyway, Horizon. I started this bad growth just a few days ago, finally, after buying it at least a year ago, when I was in a great mood because Trump finally got taken down. You know, without getting too much into politics, I'm just happy about that. So it was a day to celebrate, and I thought, hey, let's open this game up and finally play it. I even put up a short clip about it on Instagram, and you can find the channel's Instagram and other pages in the description in case you didn't know. But back to the game. Horizon. Everyone's played it, and I probably couldn't tell you things that you wouldn't already know about it if you played it before me. But I wanted to make a quick video about it anyway, cause talking about things is fun. Or in this case, writing it first, because I've actually sat down to write all of this, which I don't do most of the time. But I wanted my thoughts to be a little more organized than they usually are when I do an episode of the UbiPod, and since this is a video shorter than that, why not? For those who might not know, and I would be very surprised to know that you don't know this, Horizon Zero Dawn is a PlayStation exclusive title in the console space, and it was completely exclusive to it for years up until a few months ago when it got ported to PC, and has been hopefully enjoying a second win since, because some 8 hours into it, I really like it. But I knew that I would, because I've spent literally the better part of 2,000 hours in Skyrim across many playthroughs of it, and Horizon has elements of Skyrim in it, but it also has elements of Marvel's Spider-Man, which is also a PlayStation exclusive, and it also makes me think of God of War. Do you see the pattern here? I think that you do. If I were to summarize this game in one line, I would just say it's a nice hot soup full of ingredients that you can see in other first-party exclusive games, and it's pretty delicious so far. It looks as beautiful as those games I just mentioned, even though it came before them all. There are so many beautiful mountains to look at, and fields of grass, dirt roads, bunches of forestry and shrubbery and rivers. It's almost always snowing or raining, and it really just shows you that it would be a hellish place to live in if you're used to sitting in the comfort of your home sipping on hot brews. You really do have to be tough to live in an environment like this, just like you would have to be tough to survive in places like Skyrim and Breath of the Wild's Hyrule, lands that are also home to harsh climates, environments, and a variety of beasts that won't hesitate to attack you and tear you to shreds. So far, I feel mostly prepared for the gameplay because it reminds me so much of those other games. I've spent thousands of hours shooting arrows in Skyrim, and I've shot many with the different bows in some of the God of War games. But using a bow feels better in this game than in any of those, since it has much more polish, and that's a theme with this game. It feels, looks, and sounds great all around. It's so satisfying to draw back my sharpshooter bow and take out a human enemy with just one arrow to the head, and rock climbing, dodging, and running is fluid and quick, and so far hacking and riding a strider is speedy enough. Well, so long as you're not always tempted to get off of said mount to gather more herbs and loot bodies, which I always want to do, so in that sense, having a horse has always been a bit tedious for me. But that's not the game's fault, that's just my personal preference, and I saw that there's a perk for gathering resources while on a mount, so I can't wait to give that a go to see if it alleviates some of that issue for me. And speaking of perks, the skill tree looks a lot, again, like God of War's and Spider-Man's. But I guess that's just how big games present them nowadays, and I can imagine that there aren't too many ways to present unlockable abilities for characters without the skill trees looking too wild. Or you could present something more wild, but if you did, it would probably create some inconvenience. So in all of these games, they look similar but great, and they allow you to do what you're supposed to do in a streamlined and very easy manner. Something that definitely tickles me are the dialogue cutscenes. This game obviously had a big budget, but the lip syncing and muscle movements and facial expressions are just hilarious sometimes because they look too quick, stiff, and just unnatural. I resorted to calling Tev, a guy you saved early on in the game, the eyebrows guy because his eyebrows just wouldn't stop twitching and dancing the whole time that he spoke. And that's a thing pretty much with all the characters when you're in a dialogue scene, it just is what it is. but I'm willing to give it a pass simply because it's an earlier PS4 title and it does everything else so well. Furthermore, these things seem to be exclusive to these dialogue cutscenes and not to the bigger, more story-centric ones, which are always animated beautifully and are always also a treat to watch. The only real gripe, I think, that I might have so far with this game is just that the main story, which seemed real interesting at first, took somewhat of a nosedive because almost all the tribal characters that are around Aloy in the beginning of the game come across as real dim and forced. The matriarchs are just superstitious boomer grandmothers who fear technology because they don't understand it. Eyebrows guy said that he became a Stitcher because he's a wimp and an idiot, and so Aloy herself feels obviously lost and confused so very often because these people that she was raised around are just stupid. Mind you, I'm aware that no one would know how to turn on a computer and much less use it if they've been living in bumfuck Egypt their whole lives, but them being so secretive and ignorant of a lot of the environment around them by choice just makes them dislikable. And Aloy is obviously smarter than them all and would be even smarter than them all if she had been raised and taught things by people who didn't jump when someone farted in their general direction. Thankfully though, in spite of how the story starts out, it does seem to be picking up again, and I'm eager to see more, especially now that I've found a few news reports that you come across and read with the focus as you're out and about exploring and helping people. So like any big game, there's a lot of backstory to tell and not enough time in the world to animate it all, so a bunch of it is presented in text and corrupted voice recordings from people before the world went to hell. All in all though, I think that that's about it for this video. It's a big, beautiful game, more of what I love in this genre, and that's really all that I asked from it. It's delivered as a whole so far, and the minor setbacks that I've observed so far really aren't anything that detract from the joy and the sense of wonder and adventure that I feel as I'm out and about shooting down and stabbing robo-dinosaurs. This is a game that, so far, without having browsed the entirety of its trophy list, I can see myself fully completing and without it feeling like a big chore. Have you played Horizon? And if so, what do you think about my first impressions fueled assessment of it? You're welcome to respond with a comment here, or you can find the channel's Instagram, Twitter, and other pages in the links in the description. Gracias for watching, and I hope to see you here when I do a much longer, more rambly episode of the UbiPod for this beautiful game in the future. But until then, I hope to see you here in the next video. Take care.